Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Players Earn YouTube channel. And we're back once again. The Premier League predictions for match week 9 is here. Very, very excited for this weekend's Premier League action. I feel like I got my prediction hat back on after a few weeks of struggling. If you're new to the channel wondering what's going on here, I do prediction each week and we have prediction points. Last week I added 9 to our growing total. So we came into the week on 44 points, added 9 more. We're now on 53 of our prediction points after the 8 match weeks. And if you're new, you're wondering how the point system works. It's 3 points for the correct scoreline, 1 point for the correct result predicted, and obviously 0 points for neither. So quite happy with my predictions last week. A bang-on prediction for the Liverpool-Chelsea game, and looking to do something quite similar this weekend as well. We obviously got a massive weekend to come. West Ham play Manchester United, both teams desperately needing a win. Obviously, the big game is Arsenal and Liverpool, but also don't forget about Chelsea and Newcastle in there as well. Another big one is Bournemouth travelling to Aston Villa. So a lot of exciting games, a lot of tough-to-call games this weekend, as the Premier League always is. Each weekend we've got some classic affairs to dive into. With that being said, let's get straight into our predictions now for match week 9. Our first game from the weekend is a Friday night affair. We're taking it to the King Power as Leicester host Nottingham Forest in what's a very difficult to predict game. Obviously, Leicester come off the back of a fantastic come-from-behind victory, 3-2 last time out against Southampton. A massive relegation 6-pointer in my eyes, but we expect Leicester to be pushing up the table, and at home, they're a really difficult team to play. We just asked Bournemouth from a few weeks ago. They really struggled to get the better of Leicester at home, and it's going to be tough for Nottingham Forest out there. When I've looked at Leicester, though, there's one key player that stands out for me. It's the former Brighton man is on loan at Leicester this season. He's been pivotal to a lot of their success and a key cog in some of their attacking play. Obviously, still relying on Jamie Vardy. I think the age of 37 now, top to lead the line. He needs some support in terms of goals and assists, and that will come from Buonanotte, and he's been pivotal. Whenever he's playing well in the final third, things happen for this Leicester side. So he'll once again be a key figure in this side to get them going. And I hope for their sake they start quicker this week, because if they have a slow start like they did against Southampton, I doubt they won't find a way back into this game here. With that being said, you look at the other side of things, Nottingham Forest, they obviously have a quicker turnaround, the latest fixture for the last match week, and were impressive in that 1-0 win versus Crystal Palace. Palace still a very difficult team to play against. They're still a really tough team to break down. Elliot Anderson, for me, has been a key figure that stood out. A very consistent performer, a player that I was really excited to see this season. Had a slower start, but as the games have gone on, he's really developed into that role, especially at the number 10, like we saw him last time out. Him alongside, I think the key players for me will be the back three. The goalkeeper, Matt Sells, alongside Murillo and Milenkovic, have probably been the stars so far this season for Nottingham Forest, and they facilitate this counter-attacking style of football they like to play, because they can sit in and absorb pressure with these great defensive players, whether it be Matt Sells making massive saves in goal or Murillo and Milenkovic breaking the game up. It allows them to sit in and then counter-attack oppositions and use the pace of the likes of Anthony Alanga as well as Callum Hudson-Odoi. And obviously Chris Wood, you cannot keep an eye on this guy. He has continued to score goals for fun. I think he might be a difference maker in this game alongside Elliot Anderson up top. Their clinical edge, their ability to find the back of the net with limited chances might be the difference for me. It's going to be a real cagey affair, I think. A battle of who starts the game quicker for me. Whoever gets on the front foot a little bit quicker, I think will win the game. I've gone with a Nottingham Forest 2-1 win, just edging it for me. They're in some great form. They're sitting in 8th. I think they'll carry over their form with another win here in this game here. We move up north to the Etihad as Manchester City host Southampton. Two teams in polar opposite form. City maybe not firing at their best, but still getting results over the line. And the win last time out, the 2-1 last kick header from John Stones, is sort of symbolic of a champion team. Never rule them out, never write them off, and they'll find a way to win games of football. And it's a side of a real together team, united team. And on the midweek action, they got goals. Haaland back on the goals, Foden with a goal. It feels like this team is just warming up. Like they do each season, they warm up until we get to this upcoming block of games around Christmas time. They start clicking into gear and they just demolish teams. I think this could be the start of that run for me against a really weak Southampton side that concede a lot of goals in clumps. I can see City tearing apart the Saints here. Obviously, Southampton, they've been valiant in the last few games, but as I said, they continue to concede goals in clumps. You know, Archer and Fernandes up top and Dibbling, these are really creative players that can score some goals, but they're giving off a lot of Sheffield United vibes from last season, where they're in games to start the season off, but they continue to lose them or not pick up the required points which they need. And I think the heartbreak of last time giving up that 2-0 lead to Leicester will just be compounded here in this game versus Man City. I think they'll tear them to shreds. I'm predicting a Man City 4-0 win for me. I think they're too good. I think Foden will be a key figure. And I think Erling Haaland gets back in the goals for the Premier League, because going 3 games without a goal is very rare for the big Norwegian. We move back south now to the G-Tech in London as Brentford hosts Ipswich in one of the more difficult games to predict. 2 teams that can be up and down. Both teams have shown moments but haven't really put it together for a full 90 minutes at all this season. Starting with Brentford, obviously a difficult 2-1 loss away at Old Trafford. A game that they were never really in, but they just found a way to obviously take the lead in the end of the first half there, and were probably lucky to be in front. Yes, they controlled the opening 15 to 20 minutes, but as the game went on, United really took a stronger hold of that game. I think for Brentford in this game here, they're a very, very good home team. They're playing some great football at the G-Tech, and they use that crowd to get in behind them and to run on momentum. Similar to how they played against Crystal Palace on the opening day, I think they'll be really key in this game here versus a dangerous Ipswich side. I look to that midfield, Norgard in there alongside Janelt. I think these 2 players will be pivotal. The midfield battle in this game for me is going to decide the way the game goes. Both teams can really thrive on momentum and thrive on top of games. So important these 2 in here as a more experienced group. Control the pace of the game, dictate possession, and make sure Brentford are on top for larger periods of the game, because if they do that, I'm likely to see them getting over the line in this game here. Switch across to Ipswich, a difficult result last time. Had a 2-0 loss at home to Everton. They never really had a sniff for me. Everton, with their low block and their great defensive structure, didn't really give Ipswich much of a chance. I think Brentford, we know how tight and compact they can be as well. So it's going to be a difficult sort of season for Ipswich if teams just go and be compact and be narrow, because they don't have enough creation for me, not enough quality on the flanks to really break apart a side. So yet again, the midfield battles. I look at that central area, Phillips, Morsey, Hutchinson especially. Can they stand up to this moment? Can they create things for the Ipswich side, wing the ball back in tight areas, win that midfield battle and get the side going forward more often than not? Because if you create half chances or even a nothing chance, Delap seems to be this season putting those chances away. So you've got to feed as much as possible, and that's your biggest avenue to winning this game of football. It's going to be a game that whoever controls momentum, whoever controls the midfield battle is likely to get on top. And because of the history and because of the home ground advantage, I just back in Brentford here. It's going to be a real tight game, back and forth. I've gone with a Brentford 2-1 win. As I said, those experienced heads in the Premier League, they'll prevail in this game here. But don't get me wrong, Ipswich are going to make it very difficult for the Bees in this one. We move further down to the south coast as Brighton host Wolves in what is going to be a one-sided affair, I think. Brighton's style of football under Fabian Hurst has been rock and roll, but I was really, really glad to see them win a game in another style of football. They were really in the back foot versus Newcastle, limited chances, and the one real main chance they got, Danny Welbeck found the back corner. He's been in fantastic form this season, but will likely miss this game versus Wolves with that injury picked up against Newcastle. So excited to see what Evan Ferguson can do up top. And in behind him, Jorginho Russo, who for me has to be the spotlight player in this game. He has been fantastic, was pivotal for the build-up for that Danny Welbeck goal, and has shown that he can take that form from the Championship into the Premier League. Very good in tight areas, very smart with the ball at his feet, and cannot really get dispossessed. The ball's almost a magnet to his foot at the moment. And with the pacier players around him, he's going to be a real dangerous threat coming and making those late runs into the box or setting up runners going into the box like your Evan Ferguson's as well. So I think his quality playing in behind the big striker might be the difference in this game here against a very vulnerable Wolves defence. They were fantastic for major portions of that game versus Manchester City. And it's clear to see that that counter-attacking style, which they utilised versus Man City, will have to be employed yet again here versus Brighton, because Brighton love the high-energy possession style of football. So once the Wolves win the ball back, you have to spring that counter-attack, get the ball to the likes of Cunha and Strand Larsen, who scored a fantastic goal last time out. And for the wing-backs, I love how high they can get Aït-Nouri and Semedo, but you've got to prioritise some of the defensive shape at times to just narrow off and block off those areas. Contradictory to that, though, I think for Wolves, it's about having a balance. They went way too defensive versus Man City and allowed that pressure on, allowed the 18 corners, and eventually they cracked, obviously, with the final kick of the game. But if I'm Wolves and you hypothetically score first, you don't have to sit so deep and absorb all the pressure. Still stay on the ball, have possession in key moments to take the pressure off that back line. It's not one of the best back lines, probably one of the worst in the Premier League. So when you have the ball, try and keep it. Take pressure off your defensive structure and just pass it around. Take some sting out of the game, especially against a really dynamic Brighton side. So for Wolves, I want to see them try and take care of the ball when they have it in this game. That might be an avenue for them trying to get a point or potentially a massive 3 points for their season. With that being said, they've been really poor this season, Wolves, and I can't see them beating a really, really informed Brighton side, especially at home for Brighton. I'm backing the Seagulls in. 3-0 in this game here. Too much star power and a wave of momentum right now with some great football being played under Hertzler. Our next game is at Villa Park. Aston Villa host Bournemouth. Both teams buzzing through respective results. Aston Villa, obviously a fantastic result in the Champions League yet again. Yet to concede a goal in the Champions League and playing some fantastic football in Europe, coming off the back of a 3-1 win last time out versus Fulham in the Premier League as well. But here's where the question lands for us as Premier League fans. How can they back up another famous Champions League night in the Premier League? They struggled versus Man United, didn't really create much, looked a very lethargic side and grew as the game went on, but slow starters. How will they start here against a really dangerous Bournemouth side? When you look at their key player, I think Morgan Rogers, Jacob Ramsey, yet again, the young stars, they've been fantastic. Both of them worked really, really well in the half spaces against Fulham in the Premier League last time out. And both are really, really technical. They make things happen. They're smart players. And little 1-2s they give to each other and how they know each other's style of football. I think these two will be the key players to really get at an inexperienced, vulnerable Bournemouth defence. With that being said as well, equally important for this Aston Villa side is the fullbacks. Luca Digne, Matty Cash. You're going to be on song here because the likes of Kluivert, if Tavernier plays out wide, Dango Utara, but most importantly, Antoine Semenyo are really dangerous for Bournemouth, especially in the counter-attack in these big games against these big sides. They like to sit in, but then once Cook and Christie get that ball, they try spraying the ball out to the flanks, and like Semenyo can get at these back lines. So you're going to have to switch on if you're Luca Digne and Matty Cash, not only going forward, but covering off defensively as well if Aston Villa want to win this game of football. Obviously, Bournemouth are flying off the back of that 2-0 win versus Arsenal and absolutely deserved it. They're a really, really tricky team to play. I think only the 3 wins this season in the Premier League, but have deserved more. They've been really, really involved in every single game. They play some fantastic football, and we know they cause problems to these big sides, as I said, by sitting in deep and then springing the counter-attack. Cook and Christie, I say it almost every second week, but they're going to be pivotal, winning the ball back, transitioning the ball for the Bournemouth side. And we saw when Christie came off the bench versus Arsenal, that was a fantastic, smashing finish. And that's what he can do against these big sides, make those magic moments happen. So those two in midfield are going to be pivotal. And obviously going forward, Antoine Semenyo, Justin Kluivert, Tavernier as well. These guys are really clinical with limited opportunities. We've seen it last season. We saw it against Arsenal this season and last time out as well. They're a really dangerous side on the counter-attack. So he's going to be clinical in front of goal to potentially get a famous point or a famous victory here at Villa Park. I think for me, the opening 20 minutes is going to be massive. Aston Villa struggled versus Man United in the opening half an hour. Bournemouth are a fast starting side against these big clubs. Whoever can control or maybe get a goal in that first 20 minutes will go a long way for them winning that football match. With that being said, I do back Aston Villa in. I think they're going to have enough to get over the line. It's not going to be pretty, but they'll get the job done. I've got a 2-1 result for them in a really cagey affair in the first half. We move up to Merseyside for our next game as Everton host Fulham. And this is going to be a funny old game because Everton are in some great form. In the last 4 games, they're unbeaten, only conceding 2 goals and really finding that defensive groove yet again, what we knew from Everton last season. And if you flick your mind back to 12 months ago, this is when Everton went on a really, really strong run on the back of great play from Harrison and as well as McNeil from wide areas. And this season looks like Iliman Ndiaye is going to be that player, that spark plug for the side. Fantastic goal alongside Keane's fantastic finish as well last time out to get that 2-0 win versus Ipswich. But what they did well, what they were doing last season was denying their opposition many clear opportunities to score goals and many abilities to get and control the game and get on top. Everton deny teams real large spans of the game and control the game, and that's when they can go about almost winning the game, playing their style of football with little short spells for each side, but no overwhelming lengths of time and large moments of momentum and pressure. And that's worked for them so well this season. You look at Fulham, obviously had 2 losses on the trot, but to 2 top teams in Aston Villa and Man City. The only thing I'm worried about against a low block, which Everton will employ, is how can they make the most of limited chances they'll get. Jimenez seems to be very clinical at this current point in time, but look at Iwobi, look at Adama Traore, sometimes Smith Rowe, they're not the most clinical players. So against the Everton side that will employ a low block, will limit the click opportunities you can get. How will they go in front of goal? You've got to take your chances when you get it. And I think the clinical edge will be the difference in this game. If Fulham are switched on in front of goal, if they're taking their opportunities, if they take their first chance, they can cruise this game. With how Everton are playing, the way they ride it like a little bit and the way they just make the game a ball fest, I think it's going to be quite a cagey affair. Really classic Dyche performance. I'm backing a 1-1 draw in. I really like the form Everton are in. They're not conceding many goals. They're not conceding many chances either. So I can see them getting a very important point here as Fulham are just sort of tiptoeing at this current point in time. Move back towards London into Selhurst Park here for our next game. It's Crystal Palace who host Tottenham Hotspur. A real one-sided affair we can see this being. I've backed Palace in. I love what Oliver Glasner's employed, but this season it's been a struggle, and it's particularly at one end of the pitch because last time out versus Nottingham Forest, they created a fair amount of chances, and I think they defended quite well, but they're just not be able to create enough clear opportunities, not be able to find the back of the net, produce that magic in the middle third to progress to the final third. I think that's going to be the big problem for Palace. It was a same sort of a story this time last season as well, where the creativity and the spark wasn't quite there. I think they're defending really, really well this season. They haven't conceding many goals in recent weeks. Obviously, they lost 3 games in a row, but all have been by 1 goal or less, the differential in the goals there. They're just not scoring. 1-0 lost Liverpool, 1-0 lost Nottingham Forest. 2 teams are in some really solid form. But I think it's going to go down to Eze and Mateta. These 2 players have heavily underwhelmed to start the season off, especially Eberechi Eze. I had a lot of expectation for him to take that mantle now that Michael Elise had left the club, but he's been really poor, wasteful on the ball. I look at Mateta, nowhere near the play he was last season. Yes, we knew it was a bit of a form period, but I thought he'd be able to carry on at least some parts of his game, the hold-up, the link-up. He hasn't been anywhere near the play he was last season. So I'm really, really worried about this side because, yes, they're being solid defensively, but you've got to have some sort of spark going forward, especially against a Tottenham side that will have a higher line. Look at Tottenham, fantastic bounce-back performance, the 4-1 win over West Ham last time out, but it's going to be a different game here. West Ham imploded. Crystal Palace don't implode on games. They stay tough. They stay competitive with Wharton in there alongside Hughes and that back 3. They're a really tough team to break down. We saw it. Liverpool only managed 1 goal against them. Same as Nottingham Forest. Teams don't batter Crystal Palace. They stay in games, especially at Selhurst Park. So I'm looking to those spark players. I'm looking to those barometer type players. Dejan Kulusevski and James Maddison in that attacking midfield. Those 2 have been the barometers. When they're in form, when they're controlling the pace of the game, when they're making things happen, especially Dejan Kulusevski when he gets on the score sheet or when he assists, Tottenham normally cruise games. So can these guys get involved in the early stages? Can they dictate the game from the start? And for Tottenham, a key trend here is how do they go if they don't score early in this game? Can they continue to apply the pressure and not commit too many numbers forward and potentially be vulnerable at the back on a counter-attack? Because we know Crystal Palace love a counter-attack goal. So it's a fine balance here for Ange Postecoglou's side. It could be a banana pill for them to slip on, but I do back them in here. I back Ange's side, the confidence from the last result. I think Dom Solanke will be a key player in this game here as well. I'm backing Spurs to win 3-0 in the All-London affair and Crystal Palace to be even further down the table. We remain in London for our next game as Chelsea host Newcastle. A battle of the 2 clubs trying to push up into those top 4 European positions. Looking at Chelsea, it was a real interesting game last time out versus Liverpool. I think a lot of steps were made in terms of their position, their build-up. It looked like a really coherent team performance, and arguably they outplayed Liverpool, but outplaying a side doesn't correlate to 3 points. I've made that quite clear this week on a few podcasts that there's progress there for Chelsea. In big games, you've got to still find a way to create those click opportunities and to find the back of the net. And they've gone on a 6-game unbeaten run in between 2 losses here in the Premier League. And those 2 losses have coincided with Cole Palmer not getting involved heavily. So I think once again here in this game, Noni Madueke, Cole Palmer, get the ball to these type of players. They're so creative. And they seem to be the leaders of this Chelsea side, especially going forward. They make things happen. They've got that spark. And when Cole Palmer gets in that groove, gets in that mood, no team can stop him. But he has to get into that groove. You've got to feed him the ball, almost force feeding the ball. He gets doubled at times. little 1-2s, commit the fullbacks on a little bit to overlap, so defenders have to go and mark the fullbacks to allow space for Cole Palmer to do his thing and roam around in the final third. And equally for Noni Madueke as well. He's been a symbol of Chelsea's revival in form and in their revival in terms of the way they play their football. He's a key figure to getting the ball, almost force-feed Palmer and Noni Madueke the ball early on to get some confidence in them and to get your attacking football moving and grooving for minute one. Because in the loss to Man City and the loss to Liverpool, it's been these players' a lack of involvement which has made a real difference in Chelsea's performances. Looking at the Newcastle side, it's been a funny old season. Inconsistent performances, inconsistent results. Whenever they've played really well, they haven't got the result, like last time out versus Brighton, peppered the goal away, created a lot of opportunities. Not many real clear-cut chances, but a bulk of opportunities. And I think it's going to have to come from your leaders, Gordon, Isak up top. Can these guys find that form yet again? They're in a little bit of a slump here, especially Anthony Gordon, really struggling to find that form which you saw last season where he's scoring goals, making things happen for Isak and Murphy and Aaron for fun, because he's in a bit of a rut right now and needs a breakout game. And I feel like this game here is going to be pivotal for Newcastle. They want to get 3 points. They want to get a point and be competitive. You need those guys up top to really be firing, because defensively they looked a little bit better. I think the last few weeks they've looked a bit more coherent, a bit more structured at the back, but it's not working up top, especially in that last game versus Brighton. They shouldn't have lost that game. They created too many chances and too many opportunities to lose that game of football, especially at home. So travelling to Chelsea, again, a vulnerable backline. I always say it there, you can get at this Chelsea backline. There's mistakes in this side. Really have to have Isak and Gordon on form to really get something out of this game. I think, though, with Chelsea at home, with the football they're playing, and with how they look probably the more coherent side, I'm backing them in to get the job done here. I've gone with a 3-1 Chelsea win for me. Newcastle at the moment, really, really hard to read. I just don't think they're at their best at this current point in time. We remain in London for a massive game for both these managers. It's West Ham United taking on Manchester United in what has been a really entertaining fixture across the last few years at the London Stadium. West Ham once again capitulated versus Tottenham. A fantastic opening 15-20 minutes where they were competitive. They took it to the Spurs side. But yet again, they imploded. They just fell apart. Their heads had a massive head loss, and Spurs that could cruise that game come the second half. And it's going to be really important this game here for both sides to manage moments, to manage losing control of games and the momentum swings, because both teams are really susceptible to momentum swings. I think for Lopetegui, yes, the club's coming back to him out midweek, but you really need to perform here. If you lose the game embarrassingly yet again here, I think you've got to rethink about this appointment, because it's not working. And with Kudus missing with that red card, I think a key player for West Ham has to be Lucas Paquetá. I have not seen him anywhere near his best under Lopetegui or in the last few games at all in the Premier League, even back to the Moyes era as well. He has to stand up. Stop being careless in possession, track back defensively, be more accountable, because when I think of West Ham's best performances and best form, it's Lucas Paquetá at the heart of it, making things happen. And Mohamed Kudus, a key player, is missing. You have to step up alongside Jarrod Bowen. And I look at West Ham as well, a lot of key players coming in. Who's going to be the leader to stand up if United score a goal, to stand up and say, let's calm down, calm the troops, and get them refocused? Because they're a team that loses focus and they let momentum just overwhelm them and they just fall apart. We've seen it in a lot of games this season. It's gone from 1 to 2 to 3 very, very quickly. So for West Ham, manage the key moments, and your key players have to turn up in a big game versus Manchester United. When we look at Manchester United, probably their most complete performance from the side this season. It was a really solid first half without being impressive, going down 1-0, but then second half comes out, some fantastic goals. Great to have Rasmus Højlund back up top. It makes a real difference having a proper number 9 up top. And then Diogo Dalot at right back was a great sight for Manchester United fans, seeing him back in form and naturally back in his right back position. For United, a similar thing to West Ham. A massive game for Erik ten Hag and his side. A massive 3 points is needed to continue to climb the table, but it's about managing key moments. This side can easily swing in and out of games, and it's about taking your chances. United are one of the most wasteful teams in front of goal, so Rasmus Højlund's a key player for me. Him and Bruno Fernandes, that link-up's to me so important. Like we saw last time out versus Brentford, they make things happen, they work well with each other, so I'm looking to those two to lead the way for Manchester United and to get on the score sheet early in this game here. Things, as I said, it's going to be a battle of who can control the major key moments in the game, who don't let momentum swing in the opposition's favour, and I just back Manchester United to do that at the current point in time. The defence looks really solid, the attack is getting better and better as the week goes on, and I'm backing United just to nick this game. 2-1 for me. A massive game for both clubs. So I think United just get over the line in this one here. And now to our final game, the big one. Arsenal host Liverpool, two of the top three teams in the Premier League going head-to-head. It's going to be an absolutely massive game. Obviously, Arsenal coming off the disappointment of that 2-0 loss to Bournemouth and the Saliba red card, meaning he will miss this game versus Liverpool. And that could be a key contributing factor. Saliba missing, Ødegaard and Saka also likely missing as well. But I don't think it's the defensive side of the park where the problem's going to be. For me, it's mentally. They seem to be the new really emotional base side in the Premier League. I know it used to be Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, a lot of emotion, a lot of the rock and roll style of pressing football. But it feels like Arsenal's become that team. You think back to Trossard versus Man City, Declan Rice, and the stupidity of that red card versus Brighton early in the season. And then Saliba and the no need to bring someone down of Anderson on the halfway line. They seem to be a really reckless team. And a team that's going to be a winning team will not be doing and making these type of mistakes. So I think in this massive game here, it's about keeping their head, Arsenal. Keeping the game. Don't get too overwhelmed by the moment, overwhelmed by the emotions of the game. Stay focused on the football. And that will go a long way for them winning this game. Equally so is having help for Kai Havertz up top. Without Bukayo Saka there, he has a lack of opportunity to really find the back of the net. Raheem Sterling will be a key figure. Can Declan Rice create more for midfield? I think for me, Gabriel Martinelli has to do something at some point soon because he has been really, really poor since almost 2 years ago now. But we've seen patches in games and moments, but he hasn't been clinical for a goal. He hasn't quite been getting those assist numbers and creating like he used to as well. It's been a really, really strange couple of seasons, but particularly start the season off from Gabriel Martinelli. They need him to lift, especially if Bukayo Saka will not be there. You've got to create for Kai Havertz because they back the side in defensively. It's about can they stay focused, don't let the emotions get the better of themselves and create for Kai Havertz up top. Look at Liverpool, the best defence in the league, are one of the best defences in Europe. And on the opposite of things, they've gone from being that emotion-driven side under Jurgen Klopp to a classic Dutch system under Arne Slot, which is still the pressing style of football, still possession-based, but not overwhelmed. And they can play without the ball. They can play on the counter-attack, and it's not so aggressive. Doesn't mean they concede so many goals. They're becoming really good at winning games 1-0, 2-1. And that's type of grinding out type of performances, and that's a positive sign for me. I think these players are suited to the Arne Slot type of football. We've seen this season, the key players have been in the spine of the team. You got Diogo Jota when he's playing up top, Darwin Núñez coming in and making a difference, but most importantly for me, the captain Van Dijk as centre-half, and then Ryan Gravenberch has been the most consistent player in the Premier League this season in that holding midfield spot. For me, those players and the spine of the team have been so key. They've made things happen, they've been consistent, and they've got Liverpool key results in big games. And I think for Liverpool, it's that midfield trio, whether it be Jones, McAllister, Gravenberch, Szoboszlai, whoever's in there as the trio, their work rate, their work ethic, and their quality in the ball could break this game apart for me. If they're on song, if they work hard, if they can press hard the pitch and really make Arsenal second guess themselves and press them and make them make mistakes, that's Liverpool's avenue to win this game of football. I think they come in as a more confident side. They can come in on the upper hand. I think they can really cause some problems here for an underdone Arsenal side with a lot of players missing. I'm predicting though a 1-1 draw. I think both teams will take a more pragmatic approach, especially Arsenal with Saliba missing and likely to have Ødegaard or Saka there. They might go a bit more defensive, and with how good both defences are, I can't see both teams conceding more than one goal. So I'm going with a 1-1 draw, but don't get me wrong, it's been one of the most fascinating games to see how Arne Slot matches up to Mikel Arteta in this one. So ladies and gents, that brings the prediction video for match week 9 to an end. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. What is your favourite game to come from the weekend? Who's the key players from the weekend? And what are your thoughts on my predictions? Also, let me know your predictions in the comment section down below. I've been loving the engagement on these videos and the support they've been getting. If you're new to the channel, guys, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the Players Net channel for more videos and podcasts like these, and press that post notification bell so you know we upload our videos and our podcasts here on the channel. Make sure you have a great day, guys. Enjoy the weekend's football action, and I'll see you guys on the video or podcast very, very soon. Till next time, guys. See you later.